what it claims to be. Yes. And that's a huge thing. Okay, sorry about the font of it. Real or fake? Okay, this is a big question in pu'er. And as pu'er's popularity increased over the years, fake pu'er flooded the market. Okay, and so how can pu'er be faked? So it can be, they can fake the geography origin. They could fake the leaf source. So I would say the majority of the wrapper, they would say from oak trees. Is it really from oak trees? I guess not. Or they would say this is Lao Banjiang. Okay, let me give you an example. This is something that I got from the Tea Art magazine. The entire Lao Banjiang, in Sichuan Bana, I think I mentioned Lao Banjiang. I think I only mentioned Banjiang. Banjiang is a larger area, it has 5 villages. Lao Banjiang is the prime. Okay, Lao means old, so it's old Banjiang. So the whole village actually produced 50 tons of tea per year. This is including spring, the 3 spring harvest, summer, and fall. But in Guangzhou tea market, this Guangzhou is in the southern China, there was an estimate of 5,000 tons of Lao Banjiang. So where did this 4,500 tons Lao Banjiang came from? So it could be, the better ones could be the Lao Banjiang adjacent. This is like real estate, right? Adjacent. Or it's not even from, Lao Banjiang, probably from, from God knows where. So that's why it's important. So if you want to, and recently, a customer called me and said, I have purchased Lao Banjiang tea from various vendors, but I've never tasted real Lao Banjiang. I don't know which one is real. And my answer is like, if you have gone to the Louvre and saw the Mona Lisa, you know what that looks like, okay? And you can tell the difference. If you've never seen the real Mona Lisa, I give you a fake Mona Lisa, you wouldn't know the difference. And this is the same with the tea. So in order for you to know, you have to taste. You have to try, you have to taste. So first of all, you find a vendor that you believe will get the real thing. And Lao Banjiang tea is, I have a quote later, and it's something to die for. And then the claim for the leaves can be fake. So it could be old leaves, and it gets really difficult nowadays because they mix it. Okay, they may have 30%, 40% from old trees, and then they have others from the Taidicha or from the small trees. So it's really, really difficult. And I tell you, in springtime, tea connoisseurs would go to the mountain, they would sleep under the tree to make sure, they're that crazy, to make sure that they are getting the old trees leaves. And the age of the pu'er can be fake, and that is, a lot of them, say if they say it's 30 years, it probably is only 10. So, next slide. Okay, this is a famous tea cake from the 80s. It's called Hong Tai Chang. It's cataloged, and can you tell? Can you tell which one is real? One of them is real, and the other one is fake. So, the one on the right actually is real, and the one on the left is fake. Okay. The one on the left is fake. It's probably from the 90s. Okay, so when you taste, it's still not bad. It's still pretty good. But if this one is sold the same price as this one, then it's a fake. If they say this is from the 90s, this is no problem. Okay. And in order to tell the difference, you really have to drink a lot and really know what this tea tastes like. Okay, and storage. Okay, storage is another thing that matters in pu'er. Like, to ferment something, what do you need? You need heat and you need humidity. So if you want the tea to ferment faster, to quicken the aging process, you can store it in a wet environment, okay? And if you don't, you want to store it in a dry environment. Now, the dry storage, meaning that you just kind of leave it, okay? You don't add anything, but if you live in like Malaysia, and all year round is very humid, then you may want to use a dehumidifier just to kind of keep the humidity at bay. So the advantage of the dry storage is that It ages slowly and it maintains the vitality and the original aroma of the tea. And then the disadvantages that it requires a long time. You know, it's like 20 years to get to the taste that you want. Now, the wet storage means that moisture is added. Sometimes they would boil water, they would add steam, you know, use a humidifier, and intentionally to speed up the aging. And a lot of the fake pu'er, the ones that fake the age of the pu'er cake, they use this method. Okay, so it just quickens the aging process. And then the disadvantage is that sometimes if you're not closely monitored, molds can easily form, and that can be harmful. And then it sometimes causes irreversible damage to the leaf structure. And a bad wet stored tea is very pungent. If you smell it, you inhale it, it's like, wow, it's like really in your face. Yeah.
So, what kind of humidity percentage do you recommend for
the humidity, it should be
Oh.
60, 65-ish.
Okay.
That would be good. Yeah, you don't want to go over. Like in Hong Kong, because it has seasons, so it was wet, like during springtime, and then it gets drier. So, and the leaves, once they absorb the moisture, it actually, you know, kind of, they calibrate themselves. Next. Yes?
Going back to an earlier slide, you had the different colors.
Yeah.
Is that the tea brewed, or is that the color of the brick?
That's the tea brew. Okay, so the dry storage, this one is a dry storage brick. This is a wet storage brick. So you can see this is much darker. And the brewed tea, okay? And this is a picture of a dry stored warehouse. Thanks. Okay. A lot of people, just like wine, a lot of people buy pu'er as an investment, okay? If you don't know pu'er, you certainly don't want to go there. But I want to tell you a story of a very famous tea cake called 88 Raw Cake, or Baba Qingbi, okay? So, just to illustrate the appreciation value, in 1992, it was sold for almost $8 Hong Kong. It's like $1 in US. In 1993, it was 70 Hong Kong dollars, like about $9 US. In 2003, it was 380, which is like about $40. 2004, it was 600 Hong Kong dollars, it was about $83. And 2005, it was 1,200, so it's 154. Today is 6,000, it's over 6,000 per cake. Okay? So you can see, just from 1992 to 2012, it has appreciated maybe 6,000 times. Okay, next slide. And I'll tell you the story about this. Okay, this is the Baba Qingbi. Okay, this is my tea master, Vesper Chan. He's the owner of several tea stores. In Hong Kong, it's called the Best Tea House, and then in China, it's called Baba Qing Dry Storage. So the story is that in about 1992-ish, so he was approached by a salesperson of Menghai Tea Factory. Way back, there were only 4 major tea factories in China. So this guy said, okay, you know, because remember the story that I told you that people in Hong Kong, that's all they want to drink is the ripe pu'er, right? Or the aged pu'er. So the raw pu'er, people didn't like it. Okay, they said, it's harsh on your stomach, it's too bitter, blah, blah. And then, so this guy said, well, I have this lot of tea, and you can get it for $7.80 per cake, okay? But he has 30 tons, so he has to buy 30 tons. So he bought it because he liked it so much. He says, it's really good. And because of his passion for tea, he said, I am not going to store it in a wet environment because that would destroy the leaf structure. I'm going to store it in a high rise. So he did. His warehouse is on the 8th floor. He did not add any moisture. He didn't. So over time, he's probably the first person, he's the pioneer of dry storage. Over time, he just really, every year he tasted tea, and he said, wow, this is really good. And then I think because this is sort of a pioneer, and people caught word, and then that's why the tea cake appreciated so much. And so it was for 88. Actually, he renamed this cake 88 because that's when he opened up his business. And so this is when we were at his tea house. It's very clear. A lot of people really, really want this tea cake. I don't have one. Okay, thanks. So this is an interesting picture. So my tea master, I think in 2011, met up with a guy who sold him this line of tea and at a tea expo, and he said, you know, what were you thinking when I bought this tea? And he thought, ha ha ha, what a sucker you were. So he was just kidding. So they met up, which is really good. Okay. So because of this, you know, people are greedy, right? So when around 2005, 2006, the price of were just skyrocketed. And people say, hey, this is a good investment opportunity. And some people even say, you know, investing in pu'er is even better than investing in gold. Of course, that's not true. So a lot of people spend their lifetime savings buying pu'er. And you know, in some of the larger tea companies, they purposely kind of artificially, you know, like stock market, you know, they raise the price. So when the pu'er flooded the market and they were just like shortage of pu'er, people went to Guangzhou, people went to Vietnam to get, those were crappy teas. So the market crashed, okay? So this, I think it's New York Times or something. And it was interesting because that was shortly thereafter I started my business. And then some people say, are you sure? You know, look at this, you know, look at this article. People, you know, lost their lifetime savings. And I posed this question to my tea master. And my tea master said, you know, bad teas will never regain their value. But then good teas will always maintain its value. And it's true. And it's so true. Today, the people who have a lot of the you know, plantations, they change their crops. They either grow rubber tree or coffee. Actually, coffee is another thing that Yunnan produces. So, next slide. Okay, so there are 3 different types of investors. The rational investors, so people in this category buy the tea that they like, that they think is good. They don't buy a huge amount, and their investment is based on their financial ability. If I don't borrow money to buy this, I pretty much just buy it for my own consumption or for gifts, okay? And then the irrational investors, and these are the people that prompted that bubble to burst. And people in this category, they don't know tea. They didn't come to class like this, but they just buy. You say, hey, I got money, you know. And they're blindly following the trend. They would say, Labanjiang tea is good. I don't care how much. I'm going to buy it. And then, you know, actually there's really no room to grow. And then the wise investors. And these are the people who understand the market value assessment and the potential value appreciation of their investment. Next one. So there are a few things that a wise pu'er investor will consider. So they would buy tea made from the arbor or the ancient home. So it's the leaf source, okay, as I said earlier. They would, there are 5 harvests in a year, 3 in the spring. You have the early spring, the mid-spring, and then the late spring. And then the summer, and then the fall. Nobody buys summer, okay? If you want to buy, the best is the first 2, is the early or the mid-spring harvest. Okay, if you want to collect, you want to be a wise investor, you buy the first 2. And then you avoid investing teas from the very famous tea producing area because they're just peaked, okay? Like the Bingdao is, you know, 30,000 per kilo. You know, if you want to buy it to drink for yourself, it's fine. But if you want to make money, there's really nothing to be made because it's already so expensive. So you want to do the second tier. You know, you want to explore teas that are good, but some people don't know about it yet. Or it's a little farther away, so it's a little cheaper. And then tea that has a strong gan aftertaste, because as the tea gets older, the gan aftertaste will become more prominent. And at that time, I mean, this really is so calming and is so relaxing, you know, with this feature. And then you avoid teas that has prolonged bitterness. So when you drink a tea, a good tea usually, when it hits your tongue, so you should taste some bitterness, because bitterness is part of the catechins, and if it's not bitter, it's not tea. But this bitterness has to transform very quickly. It's like before you take your second sip, that's supposed to transform into some sort of sweetness or a gum. If it clings on your tongue, those are very likely to be taidichan, okay, the lower quality tea. And if the tea feels roughed or mixed, you know, trust your judgment. Then usually those are, because good tea usually is so clear, so it just gives you a feeling of cleanliness, or like mountain spring water, and that's the feeling that you want to get. Next. Okay. Sorry about the font again. I'm going to read it out loud. Remember I told you about the Laobanjiang tea? I think this year when I went to Laobanjiang, I think the tea is about 6,000 renminbi per kilo, which is like 1,000 US for 2.2 pounds. Okay. It says, it is bitter as it enters the mouth and gradually dissolves. Subtle tea fragrance moves through the mouth as threads of weigan spins around in the throat. So this describes the profound experience of tasting Banjiang tea. So as you can see, pu'er is not just a beverage that people go for its taste, like for its floralness or the aroma. It is a sensory experience. And people who drink pu'er go for this sensory experience. Is that dancing in your mouth type of sensation, or this gan. And sometimes when I do tea tasting, I have this tea, I would drink it. 5 minutes later, I drink a cup of just plain water, and this water is so sweet. It is, and be able to drink, have this kind of experience, it is really a blessing. And all of us who love pu'er or for tea, being able to drink the best tea is really a blessing. And so I would like to take some questions if you have any. Yes?
What's the impact of the teapot, the clay of the teapot?
The teapot? Okay, the best brewing utensil is gaiwan. You know, we use the real kind of a quick brewing type of method, and it can be a teapot or it can be a gaiwan. If you have a 20-year-old pu'er, I would suggest that you use a yixing pot. But if if you have just a ordinary pu'er, a gaiwan is okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if you have a teapot
Mm-hmm.
and you make some pu'er tea,
Yeah.
and you're allowed at least 10, it's strong enough that you could get 10 cups.
Yes.
What if you're only going to have 3 tonight, and
Okay.
how do you save it for tomorrow without it going moldy?
Right. It won't grow moldy. So the first thing you need to do is you drain up the tea. Okay. You always drain the tea. You do not want to steep the tea in the water for any prolonged period of time. You drain the tea so you have the red leaves. And if you have to, during the day is fine. You can just, keep brewing. But overnight, if you prefer, you could put it in the refrigerator. Okay. And then the next day, when you take out the leaves, usually it could be in a gaiwan, it could be a pale cup, or you want to rinse it with hot water first, is to warm it up, to wake it up, and then you rebrew. You picked up where you left off. If you ended in 30 seconds, I'm sorry, then you do 40 seconds. So, but the one thing that you need to remember is never overbrew the tea, especially the raw tea. And using the guidelines of a lot of the, today's, in the West, people always say you brew for 1 minute, 2 minutes. We don't brew it that way, and pu'er does not work well this way. You could, but then you lose a lot of the nuance in the tea. It's like you want to taste the tea as the leaves unfurl. And so, you could do multiple brews to make a big cup, you could do that. Or something like a pale cup, where you just press the button. That is probably a good way and an easy way to brew tea. Okay? Well, yeah, go ahead.
The aged teas, do they also improve with age, or what's the
The HD, it will continue to improve up to maybe about 25 years. And then what you need to do at that time, you don't want to expose it. You want to shrink wrap it. Or put it in a tight container, because sometimes the aroma and the quality will sort of flatten out. Okay, so 2025 is kind of peak. Yeah.
I heard about there's a kind of like chi.
Yeah. Qi. When I talked about the sensory experience, okay, qi. A lot of people believe, especially the teas from the old trees, the leaves from the old tree actually has this energy. Okay, it's very abstract, and and my experience has been that for people who practice like yoga and those people, they get it right away, but not everybody can get it. It is a feeling after you drink a few cups. It's a feeling that you feel. It's a feeling of well-being. Okay, some people feel warm. Some people even perspire. Okay, I don't get there, but I could feel the warmth, and sometimes I feel the sense of I need to take a deep breath. Like, my lungs open up, and then I need to take a deep breath. And so after the deep breath, I feel relaxed, okay? And also sometimes I would get a little burp. It's like the air just comes out. So it is an experience, and I think usually you have to kind of drink enough to really recognize that. Okay, yes?
How does the fermentation of the leaves happen, and does that vary from manufacturer to manufacturer?
Oh, the manufacturer ones?
No, how does the fermentation of the leaves occur?
Okay.
And does that vary?
The udui, right? Okay. The udui. Okay. Udui means doesn't sound very good, like wet pile. So they pile maybe tons, several tons. Each unit is 1 ton. Say for example, there's 1 unit. So they have they put 1 ton of tea leaves on the ground. Then they spray water just to wet it, maybe 30%. So they wet the leaves 30%. Then they would cover this pile for maybe 7 days or so, and then they remove the cover and they flip it, because like with any fermentation, it heats up. It's like compost, it heats up. So what the tea master needs to do is to mix it, and at the same time test the temperature of the tea leaves as well as the fermentation level of the leaves. And then after they flip it, then they cover it again for another, X amount of days, 6 or 7 days. It's not like exact science. The tea master has to adjust. Then they do it again, and they probably repeat this process for about 6 times, and then they remove the entire lot of tea into a dry room to let it dry for another couple of months. And the degree of fermentation sometimes is 80 degrees, but now I think a lot of people, I know in Yunnan, they do it a little bit lighter because they like the mellowness of the tea, but at the same time, the fully fermented one will sort of, just too mellow, too flat. So they would like to have a little more gan and a little bit more vitality in the tea. So sometimes they would do a maybe 65%. So, it depends. But the process is very similar to the compost. Okay. Well, I think our time is up, and I want to thank everybody for your attention.